She said she was gonna be a little bit late, so, but we can start. Okay, great.
Oh, really?
Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the December 11th, 2024 meeting of the Needham Finance Committee. We are hosting the meeting in a hybrid manner. So, you're welcome to participate, listen in, on Zoom. If there are citizens here, they can. I'm moving forward too quickly. At any rate. Follow me. Thank you. Lost my train of thought. Haven't done it for a month. Are there any citizens here or online that want to speak, request time to speak to the Needham Finance Committee? I don't see anybody. Well, we don't have prior.
We have October 21st.
Okay.
It's right before town meeting.
Just the reconvened vote.
Right.
Everybody had a chance to look at those.
I moved there accepting.
One second. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. We're turn to the reserve fund transfer request. For the office of town manager. So. Does anybody want you with that? Good evening.
All right. Unfortunately, Kate Fitzpatrick is retiring, and his select board has the unexpected expense having to get a consultant to do a search. His best practice is to hire a consultant. And by the way, you're on the committee, so thank you very much.
Should I recuse myself?
No, you're fine with this. So
We don't approve it, because
in a weird way, that is a logic, right? But it is an appropriation of where we can $13,800, sorry. So we're asking that you release some money out of reserve funds so we can pay our consultant.
I just have a few questions myself. Did you actually hire the consultant, or are you going through an RFP process, or is the consultant in place already, or?
RFP is done, we have
We did quotes,
December
we did request for quotes because of the dollar amount. And we had one submittal.
Okay. And so this,
Community Paradigm Associates.
mhm. And do they have a track record, I'm assuming, of doing this with other municipalities?
They have an excellent track record.
They've done 120 in the last 8 years.
120
Town managers or just, really?
in the state,
Successful
or
searches.
They do almost all of them.
this monopoly?
There's 3 big firms,
Okay.
but they do the most of.
There's that much turnover?
Be afraid.
About 3/4 of the managers have turned over in the last 10 years.
Um,
Yeah, it's huge change.
Is the 13,000 the total cost, or that's the incremental cost to cover the consultant? That's how I was reading.
total.
It's a total cost, okay.
And one other question, it says, the first is to review the town charter and other information relating to the office of the town manager. In what context do they need to do that, or?
So basically, they'll look at the charter to explain to the screening committee whether the charter has any, who appoints the town manager, what the rules are, but that just really relating to some communities, the screening committee is in the charter, our community is not, so.
Okay,
It's really about the appointment.
I had 2 questions if I may.
Yeah.
How is the number arrived at 13,800 as opposed to any other number?
We put out a request for quotes for 3 firms, and that's the lowest responsive bid.
And was that based on a hour, like estimated hours they would spend, or goal tasks, scope of work that you gave them?
Scope.
So they came back and said, for that scope of work, this is what our proposed price is.
Exactly.
And they don't play any role in the selection of the candidate, correct?
The screening committee screens resumes and makes recommendation of finalists for the select board. The consultant does do the background checks. But the screening committee makes the recommendation, we typically see three, but that's not always the case. And then the board makes the appointment.
Does anybody have any other questions?
No, so I'll make a motion that the finance committee approve the reserve fund transfer request in the amount of 13,800 on the consultant for the town manager search.
I'll second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Lydia, great. Just since Lydia joined, do you
want to do a
roll call?
Oh, I didn't realize you.
Sorry, yeah, I'm online.
Okay, yeah, let's just do a roll call vote, so. Alan?
Simple.
What?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I or yes is fine.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Tina, and the chair votes yes. Oh, sorry, Lydia,
Yes, thank you.
and the chair votes yes, so Pat, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, we're just. Most of these budgets are fairly, but that's kind of one way to get started in the budget process, certainly in December. So first we have legal services and town council.
Okay, so Karen and I had that one. And we met last Friday, with Chris and with Miles. In this very room. Go to tab 4 in your book. The budget's presented. The budget request for fiscal year 26 is level funded in the same amount of $329,140. We asked about this, what's going on so far this year. In FY 25 and if it's sort of going along course as far as meeting that budget amount. And this indicated that that is the case. There's been heavy activity in some things, not as much heavy activity in other things, and so it sort of balances out to come that they're on course to not exceed that amount. This budget covers the legal services that are provided to the firm by the firm of Myers and Heath, which is Chris's firm. They have been town council since 2020. They were hired under a formal arrangement in 2022. And the work that they do for the town comprises about 90% of this $329,000. They bill on a monthly basis for the services that they provide during that month. The rates are $225,000 for partners and $205 for associates. This budget also covers some special counsel work that is done by other firms for the town, an example of that being Labor Council. I think the Myrick O'Connell firm is our labor council there. Other special counsel services that are provided are environmental and cable. The town council is appointed by the select board, reports to the select board. That's about it. Did I miss anything else?
No, I don't think so.
I do have one question. So I know you said it's level funded, but from 24 to 25, the increase was 32% in expenditures. So I'm wondering what was the delta there and why you expect it to be level funded, but admittedly up from a pretty significantly.
So I think I'll start it and Chris can finish. If you look before, Carol, the year before, 2023 was $334,000. So it was really the 2024, there was less activity, as I understand it, but Chris can obviously correct me. And so that led to why the amount was that
Okay.
in that year. But Chris, give an explanation, he's the one who lives it, so he can tell us exactly the details.
No, I think that's a correct explanation. In addition to the prior year that you mentioned, I believe there was litigation that was added to the expenditures that year that were not present in the year that followed. So I think that's the result of it.
Any other questions? Nope. All right, thank
Thank you.
you. Next is council.
Of course, I'm not gonna send you an article about how law firms are increasing their rates, okay?
Please do.
No.
Thank you, John.
Shocker.
Council for Arts and Culture.
I'm trying to send this, but I think this is something, not $40 million. We're gonna have to do more September. That guts me. But it's what's the case.
Everybody, my name is Joni Shockett. I'm co-chair of the Needham Council for Arts and Culture. First, on behalf of the council and all the residents of Needham, I'd like to thank you for your very generous support of our endeavors. We're grateful and hope that you can continue to support NCAC in the same capacity. NCAC received $9,400 from the Mass Cultural Council in the current budget year. Combining our town funds with these funds allows for a larger community impact and economic impact that makes Needham a great place to live. With additional town funds we were provided this current fiscal year, we were able to bring a program called Outside Arts to town. All the laminated posters that you've seen around town on fences and walkways, that's all from that program. With remaining ARPA funds that we had and the additional town funds, we were able to commission a beautiful new mural that will be enhanced with a wraparound in the spring to hit the back of the 91 Chapel Street building, so that people on the train, getting off the train, will see it right away. If you haven't gone to see the mural, go see it. It's really pretty and it's lively, and just people who see it have emailed me and said they just love it and they're really happy. Because of our increased funding, we have finished our most successful grant cycle to date. We finished it last night. We had 42 requests for grants from our budget of $25,495. We were able to fund 33 of the 42. Some of them don't meet requirements. They don't service the people of Needham. They don't fill out the forms correctly. Occasionally there's something that seems a little bit sketchy, so we have to be really careful. Of those, we were able to fund 17 at 100% of their grant request. This is a first for our town. Those grants will bring more art and cultural events to all of Needham's residents. These artists serve all our residents from the youngest to the oldest, and many concentrate on underserved groups within Needham. There's an arts program that works with children from Linden and other housing complexes. They provide after-school activities and give the kids a lot of outlets for their energy after school when they may just be sitting at home watching television. A music program provides performance and practice space for neurodivergent students to come and work with teachers and learn their music and then perform it in front of an audience. There's another group that works with other neurodivergent students in an after-school program and helps them create a play from the inception of the idea to the practicing, to the writing of the play, to the performance of the play. It's really a very, very special program. This year, we'll have a Holocaust survivor who's just written a book, who will speak to students about her experience as a child and the use of language and how that informed people's behavior during the Holocaust. We have an experienced specialist who'll speak to our middle school students about bullying and cyberbullying, and we all know how important that is in these times. art and science packets will be put together to go home with toddlers in a program that has proved to be so successful that the demand for it has grown rapidly, and this year we were able to provide funds to help that growth along. Our senior citizens will have several opportunities to enjoy programs in music, art, photography, movement, and more at the Center at the Heights. Several town-wide events will be open to everyone, from our multicultural fair to Chinese New Year, and a reenactment of Needham's part in the Revolutionary War as seen through the eyes of the British. Grants as small as $250 can make a huge difference to these artists. It can mean more paint, it can mean more art supplies. Larger grants allow them to expand the scope of the programs they bring to our town, and additional funding allows NCAC to procure its own art, like the mural installation. We have lots of other places we'd love to see murals. We are extremely grateful for this opportunity to enrich our residents and help support the arts. With your support, we look forward to funding more grants, bringing more beauty and culture and music and dance and so much more to enrich the lives of our citizens. Our funding consists of money we receive from Mass Cultural Council, the town of Needham. While we were overjoyed that we provided $25,495 in grants, the truth is we had requests for $42,100. A few of those requests, as I said, did not meet our criteria for various reasons. However, requests in the amount of $33,750 did. And we had to say no to some of these very worthy artists, and we had to cut back on their grants. We love what we do. We feel blessed to be able to support the arts and bring wonderful programs to our town. We hope to be able to continue to support as many, if not more, grant requests in the future, and to continue to bring beautiful art and wonderful cultural events to Needham.
Did anybody,
Oh, JP and I met.
okay. Tina, do you have anything to add?
So this was before they met,
We met last night.
last night.
Last night, to do the grants.
I know, like Santa Claus.
JP and I met yesterday morning.
Okay,
Yeah, we did. Our big meeting last night was to fund all the grants that we had approved and to go over the ones that we did not approve to make sure that we had the right criteria and we're not approving them for the right reasons. And because we had a few more than normal this year, but we just couldn't fund ones that are asking for advertising so they can advertise a program in Westwood. Or somebody who wanted $42,000 to buy all new sound equipment for a program that will never see Needham's borders. So those are the easy ones, but some of them are hard.
so and I can't really remember going back a few years, but having this level of grant request is much higher than it has been in the past. Can you give me a little color on that, and what did you do to?
Well, obviously during the pandemic, people stopped asking. This is my 5th year on the board. So the first year we had probably $25,000 worth of requests. But we had less money to fund it with. We only had the grant money from a little bit from the town and a little bit from the state. We had about 8,000 something. The state has been increasing, and you've been extremely generous to help us the way you have helped us. What's happening is that as people are healthier and things are back to normal, the artists that may have asked in the past are now starting to ask again. And their programs are extraordinary. They do amazing things. The program that works with neurodivergent kids to put this play on, the parents are so grateful that these kids are doing something like this. And they work so hard, and they just do a phenomenal thing. And Plugged In has asked us for money for all kinds of programs. And this year they asked us for a little more for their program to help neurodivergent kids learn to play instruments and practice every week and perform in front of an audience, because it helps them, it helps the town, it helps acceptance, it helps their peers accept them when they can play the drums or play guitar and do what the other kids are doing. The program at Linden Street, there's been an increase in the number of kids who are there, or there's another housing area that I'm not sure the name of it, and I couldn't find it.
Chambers Street.
And they have more kids, and a lot of these kids are kind of latchkey kids. They're 9 and 10 and 11 years old, and they come home after school and they get into mischief, or they're just watching television. And this woman comes, she's done it even when there wasn't grant money. And she came and she sits with them and she does art projects and she helps with homework and she does whatever kinds of things she can do. And this money that we gave her this year will help her buy more materials and come more than just the few times that she had been able to. I think she will double the number of times she's able to come.
She a resident? I mean, a resident of the
I-
housing project? or-
No. She's an artist. I believe she's a Needham resident. And of course, we do the open studios
Right.
and, what's the other art studios thing we do?
Art Association.
Art Association.
But the applicants don't have to be Needham residents. they
The
just have to be
applicants do not,
serving the
yes,
town.
they have to serve the town of Needham. So their venue has to be Needham. And unfortunately, we get a lot of groups that aren't. But an example is like the Highland Glee Club. Their performance space is Needham, but this year they can't perform in Needham. Because of construction, I don't know exactly what's going on, but because so many Needham residents follow them, we funded them because they'll come back next year. They've already said they'll be able to be back in their space next year. The Needham Concert Society, which has all the kids who take music lessons from Needham music teachers. They do a recital kind of thing. My kid used to be in it every year. We help fund them because they have to pay for microphones and they have to pay rental fees and custodial fees.
Right, thank you. Any other questions?
Just one question, where does fundraising come in? Do you guys do fundraise? Yeah, are there abilities to do it? I would think if, that might be another way to fund more grants.
We
Under Mass Cultural
we can't
Councils,
do it under,
there is a way to do it, but it's there's definitely a box that you have to stay in that they,
it's very
requires.
complicated, and apparently they tried to do it the first year that I was on the council, before I was really, really involved, and they broke one of the mini laws and couldn't really get the whole thing.
So you're not like
Set
a
up and
501c3, you guys are.
It's not, it's through Massachusetts, so it's through their budget and through we have to follow their guidelines and then we create some of our own. But the fundraising, we've asked a lot and it doesn't, sadly.
Is that because the money comes from the lottery?
yes.
It's,
'Cause
yeah,
that's
it's funds that are coming from,
the $9,400
Lottery
is
revenue,
part of
right.
the disbursement of the lottery funds when the lottery was created. I think 2% said it had to go for arts and culture,
Right.
and then that gets divided amongst the towns.
Is that why we can't do fundraising on top of it?
I
Is
was
that-
just
Yeah.
assuming that that's.
Yeah,
And the JP&A also talked about other grants, right? And it gets tricky because, first of all, you don't have people grants are very difficult to
Right.
correct.
write.
We've
So
looked
this
at
is
them
why you
we
have
look at them every year.
Professional grant writers, so I'm assuming nobody on the committee has either. the
I've done
time
grant
or the-
writing. I don't
Yeah.
want to do grant
Yeah.
writing, but if someone said this
Very
grant is
difficult.
perfect, I would do it.
But the other tricky thing is the budget cycles.
Yeah, the budget cycles and a lot of grants, like, you just can't get up a $50,000 grant anymore. If you're gonna apply for a grant, especially like in arts and things like this, they're gonna wanna see matching funds. And how do I get, my grant call is, March 15th through,
April.
through April 15th. How do I show that I have $50,000 to match the grant, whether I'm going to get it or not, when it's not necessarily a budgeted line item that we have in our budget?
One of the things that we have talked about is that the state is very generous, you guys are very generous. And then they constrain us in so many ways that we can't do fundraising. We can't even, if I wanted to go out and buy apple cider and donuts in the fall for the council because we're in a very long meeting. I can't do that. It has to come out of my own money. We're not allowed to use any money like that. We are allowed to grant money to an artist who says, I'm gonna be bringing, candy canes to give out to the kids. She can use the grant money for that, but we can't use any of the money that we have.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of constraints that seem a little archaic to us, but
I
we're
agree.
stuck.
That's what I had.
Right. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Congrats on everything you do. And when you say you guys, it's just not the finance committee, it's town meeting.
I know, and I understand that. I've lived
Actually,
here
Josh,
for,
I was looking for Josh. There he
Josh is
is.
very,
Josh is-
I've lived here
Josh is
for
the one who
46
really,
years.
is a big advocate of yours, so it's you
Yeah.
guys it's a collective.
We, when we first moved here, the second day we were here, my next door neighbor came and said, are you in favor of, I don't even remember what it was, it's 46 years ago. I didn't know, and first thing he says, you have to get in touch, you have to get involved in town politics if you want to live in Needham. It took me a while, but
Thank you for what you did.
thank you.
I knew Josh, there, you're hiding behind.
So I realized that I skipped over the historical commission, which has a budget of $525. So Miles, you want to take 1 minute to speak on that? And Harriet, you got your time.
I'd be happy to, Madam Chair, and try and keep it to under 60 seconds. So the Historical Commission's budget would cover specifically communications, specifically postage. Occasionally, the Historical Commission may have to hold hearings relative to the demolition delay bylaw, and those mailers will need to be filled out. We haven't had one of those, I believe, in the last 3 years. They can get costly depending on how many notices, how many actual butters we have. But that's that.
That's it. No cost for the town for the plaques on homes or,
No, that would be from the Historical Center and Museum,
oh, okay.
History Center and Museum, yes.
So, that's it. And yeah, the budget is down year over year. So it's something we don't hear a lot. It's emphasizing that and thanking you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Commission on Disabilities.
That's,
Yeah.
I think that's tab 17.
Putting Tatiana here as a journalist, and I know she said someone else. Carol Thomas, there she is.
Okay, so the Commission on Disabilities, as I said, is found on tab 17. The commission is a volunteer group of 9 persons who are appointed by the select board to address the needs and concerns of our residents with disabilities. They hold monthly meetings. The co-chairs this year are Jeannie Martin and Carol Thomas, and they might be on with Tatiana. Hi.
Yes, good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, and Tatiana is the town liaison, so she is the one who is a town employee who works with the commission. Conducts the monthly meetings and does the administrative aspects for it. Their FY 25 budget, which is the fiscal year we're in, is $2,050. And they're requesting an increase of $500 for the upcoming fiscal year FY 26. That $500 increase is projected to be used to secure additional speakers that the committee sponsors to speak with the town on various matters. They work closely with the Council on Aging and providing, as I said, educational speakers and other services for persons or residents with disabilities. The main component of the budget, $1,500 is a stipend that is paid to Tatiana, serving as a liaison between the town and the commission. Unless Tatiana or Carol have anything further, that's what our presentation is.
So I think it was very well said. Thank you.
Great.
We appreciate
Any-
your help in presenting it.
Any other questions? Or not? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
As always, thank you for your support.
You got it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
So. Any updates? Yes.
I attended the first meeting of the Needham Center Review Study Committee last night, basically an organization meeting. From a historical standpoint, the group is there in order to recommend changes and physical changes to the center. The history here is that the revitalization of the center started a number of years ago, maybe in the 2007, 2008 timeframe. The intention has been to fund whatever they do along those lines with Chapter 90 funds from the state and the grants that they can get from the Department of Transportation. And to do it in stages, and it was envisioned that they would do it piecemeal and do it over a number of years, many years, and pay for it that way. What's changed? What's changed is the desire to accelerate things. And also, I guess, the supposed inviolate Chapter 90 funds that were going to be dedicated just to that are now also being used to fund a lot of the things the DPW is doing around the town with curb work and other things. So they believe that in addition to whatever Chapter 90 funds that they would use, and anecdotally, there's $5 million in the account right now. They'll probably need additional funding, and they'll have to come to the town for that, and that will be part of whatever process is proposed. They're actually looking to accelerate things, and they're talking now about when there is a plan that they want to go forward with, to actually pilot it. And they're talking time-wise sometime this coming spring, which will be interesting. It's a big acceleration.
What is it that they're trying to pilot?
Whatever changes to Great Plain Avenue, they want to make. For instance, I saw some schematics, and one of which was to redirect Dedham Avenue, where it now feeds directly into the center onto, I think that's Chestnut or Highland. Highland. Have it curb over and have a stoplight there so that you don't proceed direct. I mean, these are the things, this is all, this is just throwing stuff at a wall right now. But that was a schematic that was shown. Reduction of the size of the road, increasing the size of sidewalks, aesthetic planters, those types of things, and also extending it beyond where it is right now on both sides, down Great Plain Ave. So it was, to me, an eye-opening meeting. And as soon as I heard that the Chapter 90 funds weren't going to be adequate and we're going to accelerate it, I said, oh, my colleagues are going to be very interested in this one as it develops. So we're going to meet right now, next time in January. They're talking monthly meetings.
Paul,
So
who's on the committee?
there's a cast of thousands. It's all appointed, of course, by the select board. There's a couple of consultants there that have already been hired. That was the result of an RFP. I didn't know any of the non-town employee people there. That's just my own inadequacy, so.
Is whatever the project or projects come before, are they gonna be before by this committee, or are they gonna be before by the select board?
I think ultimately it has to be approved by the select board. So all that's where it feeds to. But this was a lot of stuff in a 2-hour meeting. That,
And they didn't obviously discuss kind of estimated scope or,
well, you know, I gave you what I heard about scope.
okay,
I mean, it's all gonna develop. And again, I think the whole question that we're, as a group, gonna be interested in is the funding. So stay tuned.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So is the tip funding that we're talking about for Great Plain Avenue that I know has been brought up a few times that we're potentially applying for this spring, is that part of this project? Or is that separate? Is that a potential funding source?
I don't know specifically what you mean by the tip funding.
I know it's been talked about as one of the at-risk funds that they're applying for to fix Great Plain Avenue.
Okay.
That up to $20 million. I didn't know if that's the same thing or if that's something different. No.
It wasn't stated as being the same thing, but it could be, I don't know. So stay tuned. As I said, the two funding mechanisms were Chapter 90, plus whatever DOT grants we get if we qualify for those in the future. And whatever then the town decides to approve by way of projects. Did I get it right, Josh? Oh, you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
Okay.
I listened for like 30 minutes. But I had to drop off.
Okay.
Just for the committee's knowledge, chapter 90 is a formulaic distribution for all cities and towns based upon your mileage, public ways. And the TIP, which is a transportation improvement program, that's a grant program, a competitive process that's not necessarily guaranteed to communities.
So that would be under the umbrella of DOT grants. That they were talking about.
but the difference is I think that the chapter 90 funds were
Intended to be
directed toward this, and now they're being shared by
other projects.
other initiatives,
Yes.
is that?
Yes, some of the things that they were looking to use chapter 90 money for, in upon reflection, thought that it would be better to bring those types of projects to town meeting to approve. Such as quiet zone related work. For instance, whereas the chapter 90 is, as Mr. O'Connor mentioned, is select board approval.
I did hear in my short time listening that they were talking about how chapter 90 funds, if you sit on them, they don't get replenished as fast. So Karis was mentioning that they wanted to start using some of those so that they were hoping that they could get replenished.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have updates?
Can we just report on the meeting we just had?
Yeah.
So, Tina and Joe and Carol and I and Molly were just, with the school, department for our initial meeting as liaisons on their FY 26 budget. So we got our budget book. We have a long way to go. Sit on your seats, they're requesting us, so at least the request right now is a 7.6% increase.
Wow.
Which is a component of kind of what we're calling the school side, which is almost all of it, and then, as you remember from last year, now the IT part, and that's the second part, and there's additions obviously in both of those. But the biggest driver within the big number will be the requested salary increases, and there'll be a lot of discussions about that. So we just started.
It's negotiating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
negotiate, right? So that's what we have ahead of us, and so that's been put on our plates, and we will have more meetings, obviously, and I think we have the schools in for our formal presentation here on January 22nd.
So we have a lot to do between
Right.
now and then.
I've been going to these climate action committee meetings, and all I would say was, the woman Gabrielle Greenan is very aggressive about reaching out and finding grant opportunities, and excuse me, it's had reasonable success. There are a couple of grants that we are applying for that potentially are at risk because of our now that we're out of compliance for the Communities Act, potentially. So I just, just out there.
Can you talk, I mean, what we.
It grants that are being potentially awarded in the next month or two.
What did that come out of?
Magnitude.
What? One could be, I mean, generally less than $100,000. One, I think, is greater than potentially. Again, it's partly is the timing of when they get awarded. She was just, I mean, it is what it is. It's just, she thought that, potentially it could be, she's applied for it and, what impact, if any, that has upon the grant, our ability to get a grant. It's hard to know. But that's just, just out there.
Anything on the bylaw committee here?
We just met tonight.
For the first
before
time?
this, yes, and, we're just kind of doing organizational, like, getting a chair, we have to find a town meeting member, and so there was a subcommittee, which I'm on, to go through, Louise is gonna, or the town clerk is gonna send out an email to try to get people interested in.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I
Yeah.
think they did send. that.
Okay, so, so that's kind of where we got today, and our next meeting will be in January. And then we were kind of trying to figure out schedules and all that for that busy time to meet, but I think that we'll be meeting pretty regularly. But it's kind of going over the scope of the whole general bylaws and not really making any policy changes and more just kind of getting rid of inconsistencies and some archaic language and things like that. So.
Anything else?
Large House is meeting right now, so I'm missing that. They're gonna try to start scheduling meetings not on Wednesdays. What
Okay. Sorry about that.
are you gonna do?
Great, and I don't know when I am on the town manager search and I don't know when we're having the first meeting. That hasn't started yet, so. So that will be a pretty short process.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Take a roll call vote. On the, Alex?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Tina? And
Yeah.
the chair votes yes.
The next Wednesday?
Oh, Lydia,
Yes, thank you.
thank you, Lydia.
Safe travel. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you. Have a good evening.
Time.